Good morning. We are dealing with Module 3.1, Part 2, ICT and Society. Now, in the previous video, we looked at basically how to manage networks, our policies, restrictions, and firewalls, our end-user AUP document, and we started looking at worldwide communication. Okay, so we are busy talking about e-government. So e-government means we are now able to access a lot of the resources from the government via the internet. So, for example, census and statistics. For any government to do its job well, it needs to know something about the nature of the population it is trying to look after. A census is usually used to gather information on the population and should take place every 5 years. So you should remember this has happened a couple times by the time you've reached grade 11, that every 5 years people come round to every household and they will do a census and you will have to fill in certain information. The census data needs to be processed to help the government to target the areas that need the most development and support. One has to capture, store, retrieve and analyze incredibly large amounts of data. We call this big data. This is a very important term which you will hear throughout in IT and CAT. Computers are ideal for this, and in fact, without computers, it would be impossible to process almost any modern census. Population data is difficult to process without the power of computers because of the large number of people in populations. The same applies to the creation of statistical data that tracks things like the inflation rate. So it is also very easy for the government now using a computer to look at inflation rate and look at targets from previous years and then be able to say where the country will be going. The next important one is elections. Democracy and regular elections are the cornerstones of what we regard as an enlightened, humanistic, and liberal system of governance that places a high value on individual freedom, rights, and responsibilities. Computers and ICT are used extensively to make elections run smoothly, efficiently, and accurately. So before we had elections, people would have to take those ballots and physically go and count each ballot and check them by hand. Now these are read into a computer with a scanner, and it will collect all the data. They allow for the compilation of accurate voters' rolls and the efficient creation and distribution of election materials like ballot papers and voting booths. They also ensure that an accurate tally of the votes cast is kept. So in the past, they would have to count and then they would have to maybe put it in packs of 50 or 100 and then count those again. Now they simply just read it into a computer, it scans it, and it will do an algorithm and calculate for the IEC. In some countries, like parts of the USA, there are even electronic voting machines that immediately record and count votes as they cast. So maybe by the next elections that we will be able to have electronic voting machines. Let's take a look at the next slide. Okay, the next e-government service we have is weather services and predictions. Researching and predicting the weather is an essential government service. We need an accurate weather service not only to prepare for and face natural disasters and reduce the impact on the population, but also to ensure that other essential services such as transport and agricultural planning, operate effectively. So with weather services, we can do predictions to see how much rainfall we can expect this year. Is it going to be a dry year? Are we going to have a lot of rain? Or how will this affect the growing of the crops and the various food that we have? Weather prediction involves massive amounts of resources and computing power. We will need a supercomputer. Okay, so that's not just your normal PC. This is a strong PC with a big processor so that it is able to process a lot of data. This kind of service is usually a collaboration between the government, universities, and private enterprises because it is so complicated and expensive to research and predict weather accurately and efficiently. Then we have environmental improvements. ICT is a powerful force in helping us to become more aware of our impact on the world around us. Did you know that the global environment movement started with the images of Earth seen from space that were captured by the first space missions? These images were made possible in part by the power of ICT. Another example of the role of ICT in the environment is without number crunching power of computers, it would be impossible to analyze the figures and run the simulations that make us aware of potential global crises of climate change. So let us take a look at how computers will help. There are 4 ways. The improved communication that makes the population of the planet aware of environmental issues and that motivates people to do something about these issues. Okay, so for example, we are seeing how the ozone layer is being affected by pollution. So the computers can analyze and see how it is affecting the Earth. The next one, the statistics and analysis of research regarding environmental issues. Okay, so they can look again either at the rainfall pattern or look at how much gas is going into the atmosphere by cars and what role this plays on our environment. A very important one, tracking and monitoring of wildlife. As we all know that our rhinos are endangered species, and so it is now we can use computers and ICT to track our rhinos and protect them. Then we have genetic research that can help restore failing populations of rare species. Okay, so if we see that a particular animal the survival rate is decreasing, we can possibly do something to help save that species. Okay, capabilities and limitations of ICT. The speed and accuracy of computers. The ability to analyze vast quantities of data quickly and to transform, present, and communicate data in a variety of formats are their main strength. In this section, we are not going to focus on the technical capabilities and limitations of ICT. We will take a brief look at some of the ways that people and society affect the general capabilities and limitations of ICT. Okay, so what is ICT capable of? When we ask what ICT is capable of, the question runs much deeper than the technical aspects. ICT is consistently proven itself. We know that it can do almost anything we can imagine or desire of it. As we are dealing with the social implications of ICT, it's probably more appropriate to look at what ICT can contribute to society on a social level rather than a technical level. So amongst other things, ICT is capable of improving and enhancing our ability to communicate. So today it is really easy. You take your cell phone, you WhatsApp someone, and you will instantly, if they are online, get a response from them. You don't have to write a letter, send it by post, wait 6 weeks, and then wait another 6 weeks for them to reply. So basically in about 3 months' time, you will get a response on a letter that you may have sent in the past. Removing monotony and repetition by automating repetitive, which are usually manual tasks. Okay, so computers or technology, new devices are able to take over tasks that humans used to have to do. And think of a warehouse, maybe a car warehouse where they are designing cars. Now, machines and robotics will design and cut out templates of the door and of the different parts of the car, and then assemble this car in a much quicker time than what a human would have been able to do it. Collecting and mining data on an incredibly large scale. Again, this is the term big data, okay, where we are looking at huge amounts of data that need to be analyzed, and you will need special computers to be able to do this. Increasing our awareness of our common humanity and individual rights and responsibilities. Okay, so what responsibility do you have towards society when it comes to ICT? And what are your rights? So, big question is someone allowed to access your cell phone and see who your email and see who you have been corresponding with? This is where the laws come in to protect you. Making vast stores of knowledge and experiences readily available and searchable, making future research and development easier and more productive. So let us take the manager of Macro, for example. He wants to know which products he should order for the next season. Okay, now he's going to look at a variety of things. He's going to look at what has been ordered in the last few days, or what was ordered last year this time, and with that he will be able to make predictions. Okay, the effective use of ICT and implementation of ICT projects within a country and society depend on the following factors: education and training, stable supporting infrastructure, pricing and availability of hardware and software. Education and training. ICT requires high skill levels from both its user and its developers. So, for example, using Google Classroom. Before this, many of you had never actually learned online, and now this is a whole new experience for you, and this could be a new experience for your family. Stable supporting infrastructure. The capabilities of ICT within a country depend on the stability of supporting infrastructure, such as your power supply and your communication networks. If this supporting infrastructure is unstable or unaffordable to the general population, then it will discourage investment in and the development of ICT-related projects. Pricing. High import duties on ICT-related hardware increases cost of ICT-based solutions in a country. Restrictions on how ICT can be used and deployed in the society. So it stands to reason that the availability and cost of hardware and software has a great impact on where and how ICT can be deployed. And that is where we will end this video.